issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the show, the Friday edition of Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. Also, you can hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. We stream all of those live, but obviously we want you to go out and download the JoyNet Radio app and listen via the app. That way we know how many people are listening at any given time, and that also helps us out with the statistics when we're taking care of little business. You know what I'm saying? So do us a favor and get out there and download that app and make sure that you're listening. And I always like to remind people that although we do stream live on the social media accounts, our complete audio system is not tapped into, those social media accounts are not tapped into our audio system, okay? So that means that if we have someone on the phone, you won't hear them, all right? If we're playing something in the background, you won't hear it. So it is important for you to go ahead and download that so you can get the full brunt of the show. Okay? So go ahead and get that downloaded, and that way you won't miss any of it. But if you do, just remember that there is a podcast that I upload every day right after the show. So if you miss any part of the show, or if you want to go back and say, did he really say that? You want to fast forward or go backwards, you can do all of that with the podcast. So just go out to your favorite podcast platform and search for Black Focus Radio. You can't miss it. By now, you ought to be aware of the logo and the background that I'm using as well. So just go out there and check all of that out if you don't mind, okay? So that's how you support the show. Of course, Robert Webb, just talked to him. He should be here in a little bit. I believe he's caught in traffic. By the way, I'm wondering if he's caught in the traffic on I-630 east and west. If you all haven't figured out by now, I believe from 9 a.m. till, I want to say 6 p.m. every day, and I believe I heard the report said for the next 6 months, I know it's going to be at least the next 3 months, that it's going to be down to 2 lanes on either side. Okay, now they're widening that area to make it 4 lanes on either side, but just be aware of that. So if you are on 630, in all likelihood, if they are working today, I know it's raining, then the odds are that that's where you're going to be hanging out for a little while. I'm just saying. 855-525-5683 is the number. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. Don't really know where to start, but there is a lot of stuff. So I'm trying to I've got a black fact. I want to make sure we cover that story today too. You know, we've been gone for quite a while, and we just got back in pocket. And I just want to make sure that we're covering everything we need to cover, and some of the things that I had planned uncovering or talking about that went on. Looks like we got everything. Okay, so I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and jump into our black fact.
Dynamic black facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
Well, what does the name James Orange mean to you? Do you know the name? Anybody out there know the name of James Orange? If you're streaming the show right now, have you ever heard of James Orange? Well, you probably didn't know that James Orange's 100-time arrest led to the passing of the Voting Rights Act. Now, I'll admit to you that I didn't know this story until probably about a year ago. Okay? So, when he answered death's call at age 65 on February 16th, 2008, following gallbladder surgery, notable civil rights leader James Orange was rest assured his name and contribution to the black cause will be remembered. Orange first joined the civil rights march to woo a lady before dying as one of the most notable faces. And true to form, the native Alabamian who died in Atlanta is regarded as one whose arrest in 1965 led to a series of events which culminated in Lyndon B. Johnson signing the Voting Rights Act into law in August 1965. He was charged with disorderly conduct and for enlisting students to aid in voting rights drives by the police. When news broke that he was about to be lynched in the Perry County Jail in Alabama, it sparked uproar. When news spread like wildfire that Orange would be lynched, civil rights activists organized a march to support him. However, the marchers clashed with Alabama state troopers during the February 18th demonstration, and a young black man, Jimmy Lee Jackson, was shot in the stomach. The needless death of Jackson, 26, fueled anger and led civil rights leaders, including Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., to organize the Selma to Montgomery, Alabama Voting Rights March, which was broken up by club-wielding state troopers and sheriffs, resulting in Bloody Sunday. Of the day, Orange submitted Jimmy's death is the reason that Bloody Sunday took place. Had he not died, there would never have been a Bloody Sunday. On the march's third attempt in March, they made it to Montgomery. Orange was a noted civil rights activist in the 1960s who participated in numerous civil rights events with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and the Alabama Christian Movement of Human Rights. These activities included the 1963 Birmingham Campaign, the SCLC's Poor People's Campaign, and the 1968 sanitation workers' strike in Memphis, where Dr. King was assassinated. Orange was at the Lorraine Motel with King on the balcony above when the prominent civil rights leader was shot April 4th, 1968. Orange eventually left his position as the SCLC project coordinator, but continued to participate in human rights campaigns, championing labor activism and issues of racial prejudice until his death. The Birmingham campaign in 1963, where Orange joined the so-called Children's Crusade protest in Birmingham, Alabama, which saw civil rights demonstrators, brave police dogs, and water cannons turned what might have been a defeat for King's movement into a resounding victory. He was born to Calvin and Ida Robinson Orange in Birmingham, Jefferson County. As the third of 7 children, his parents were civil rights and labor activists for most of his early life. When the SCLC and the ACMHR began their 1962 campaign to desegregate downtown Birmingham businesses, Orange was working as a chef at a local restaurant when King's Southern Christian Leadership Conference came to town for a recruitment drive. As the SCLC and ACMHR campaign developed, Orange joined the SCLC staff as a project coordinator engaged in youth outreach. In 1967, Orange was ordained as a Baptist minister. As part of the nonviolent approach in undertaking protest, Orange set out to recruit gang members to ditch their violent ways and join the SCLC. Orange remained with the SCLC for 9 years before resigning his position in 1967 to become the regional coordinator for the American Federation of Labor and Congress in Industrial Organizations, the AFL-CIO. Based in Atlanta, Georgia, Orange organized campaigns that won union representation and benefits for J.P. Stevens textile workers there. The 1990s marked a particularly busy time for Orange as he participated in a wide variety of civil rights and labor rights movements, including taking on Georgia Republican and Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich in Marietta, as well as fighting against apartheid in South Africa. He also promoted trade between the United States and South Africa. Orange remained active in the organization as the chairman until his death. The Black American Civil Rights Campaigner was believed to have been arrested more than 100 times on demonstrations. Despite being a large man, 6'3", and well over 200 pounds, Orange became a convert to nonviolence and endured 9 severe beatings rather than respond with violence. In 2006, he championed the cause for Cynthia McKinney, former Congresswoman who filed impeachment proceedings against George Bush over the Iraq War. Orange told an interviewer, "We've made solidarity our way of life," adding, not only within the labor movement, but between the labor movement and the African American community. Orange left behind his wife, Cleophas, known as Cleo, and 5 children. His funeral was held at Morehouse College's King Chapel in Atlanta and was buried in the city's Greenwood Cemetery. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to a civil rights pioneer, a man who didn't have a problem standing on the front lines, so you could go and vote. His name is James Orange, and that's our Black Fact for today. And if you would like to sponsor Dynamic Black Facts, give me a call at 615-554-0568. All right, we're back. I know a lot of people don't realize James Orange was on the balcony when Dr. King was killed. We don't hear much about him. And I did not realize that, although I've seen the pictures multiple times, didn't realize that he had been arrested over 100 times. Just so you can go and vote. But, it's not important, is it? Those people died. They, got hung. It wasn't important to vote. Why should you go and vote? You know what I'm saying? Hey, Robert.
What's up, dog?
How you doing, man?
Hey, man, I'm up in this joint.
You got a big weekend planned?
Oh, yeah.
What you gonna do?
Sleep.
Yeah, that's a big weekend, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when you can blow some Z's and don't have no, and then look like the weather gonna be rainy and messed up too.
I love this.
Man, all you gotta do is take a couple shots of tequila.
It's gonna be all
It'll put you down, bro. You sleep like a baby. I'm just saying. So 855-525-5683 is the number. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today. I don't really know where to start, so let's start with the T's, and then we'll work back from there, because there are tons and tons of stuff to talk about. By the way, the Justice Department inquiry tied to the Clinton and the emails I guess there's no tangible results, Donald. Just so you thought I'd let you know that, Donald. You know what I'm saying? So the tease for today is LRPD is looking for some diverse candidates. They don't get it. Okay. We'll talk about that. More pain for the Jefferson family in Texas. I don't know if you've heard that story. We'll cover that here in just a moment. And Sarah Sanders opened her noodle and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that she does not have the mental capacity to govern a goldfish, let alone a state.
Who's that?
Sarah Sanders. Okay. By the way, Little Rock schools, you all should be paying attention to the city of Houston. In fact, Houston should have been paying attention to you all, but y'all don't want to listen to me.
So what happened?
We'll talk about that here as well. Okay.
Look, you finna be on fire today.
I'm just saying, you know,
I'm
it's.
just gonna sit back and take it all in.
Oh, so you just gonna duck, huh?
I'm done, baby.
Okay.
You sound like you about to light them up. You better
Well-
be prepared.
Well, let's start with the school thing in Houston. Okay, why don't we? It's Friday.
Might as well, huh?
Okay. So as you all know, that Little Rock School District has been under state control or under Nazi occupation for almost 5 years. And when I first moved back, it had already taken place. The first thing I started asking around, well, when are y'all going to sue them? People looked at me like I was crazy. And then I'd say, well, when are y'all going to strike? People looked at me like I was crazy. We can't strike. Oh, no, we can't strike. I said, so what bargaining power do you have? That's exactly what I got. Nothing.
I'm listening.
Okay?
Okay.
So as we continued on,
Okay.
you know, every time I'd have this conversation or, you know, surrounding this, I would ask the question, well, when are y'all going to strike?
All right, what's up? Yeah.
When are y'all going to sue them?
Okay.
Have y'all talked to the ACLU? Apparently not.
Okay.
Here we are 5 years later, and, you know, we've done a lot of marching, done a lot of praying, done a lot of picketing. Still don't have your schools back. And even today, it still perplexes me. Why didn't y'all sue them? I still really haven't figured that out yet.
But what grounds could you sue them on? There's no grounds to sue them.
Well, apparently the city of Houston has decided that there are,
Okay.
because the state of Texas is attempting to take over the schools in Houston.
Okay.
And Judge Catherine Mousy has blocked the state from indefinitely taking over the giant Houston Independent School District, primarily on account of persistent low scores in one poverty high school. Does that sound familiar?
In one poverty high school.
Right. Does it sound even more familiar if you know that the director of the State of Education in Houston, now I'm reading from the Arkansas Times, and this article was written by Max Brantley, okay? So the director of the state education in Texas holds no educational qualifications for the job. Does that sound familiar?
Sounds very familiar.
Okay. Now, you know, here in Arkansas, they were facing unending control at the hands of a failing education department headed by a former Republican senator for whom the law had to be changed to allow him to hold the job.
Sounds familiar.
Okay. The state at the time of the takeover said Little Rock would get local governance back in 5 years. That 5 years expires in 2 weeks, and we have only a hazy prospect of an election almost a year from now, with an expanded school board jury rigged by the state in such a way as to prevent the wrong sorts of people, poor and minority, from exerting undue pressure on the majority black and poor district. Okay, Texas contends, as does Arkansas, that state law gives the state essentially unlimited power to do as it wishes with a school district as long as even one school fails to meet the arbitrary cut score on a standardized test, demonstrably unfair to poor and minority students, and thus unfair to schools uniformly populated by such students. In Texas, Houston school lawyers said the state education boss had inaccurately interpreted state law and skipped procedural steps to get the results he wanted. Look for an argument like this to be made in Little Rock soon, where a lawsuit challenging state control of Little Rock is expected soon. Hallelujah. I'll stop right there. Because here's my point. You can sue anybody over anything. Okay? Now, whether it has merit, that's up to the judge to decide. But the fact that you don't sue at all after 5 years, there's an L word involved in that. You know what that L word is, Robert?
I do not.
Leadership. It seems that, it's kind of like football. It's kind of like, over the last few years, everybody been talking about, oh man, we need to pass the ball. 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 We need somebody who's excited. We need someone who can score a touchdown. Did you know that in the NFL, there has never been a Super Bowl champion who had a number one leading receiver for the league for that season? Did you know that, Robert?
I did not.
No, but we need to pass the ball. Running backs are obsolete. We need to pass the ball. When you look at the teams that advanced last week, do you know what their primary modus operandi is when it comes to playing a game?
I do not, David Coleman.
Running the football. So where's all this passing? Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is because those were the kinds of protestations I would get from people when I'd say, well, why don't y'all sue? And you get all these excuses. But at the end of the day, the courts are there to remedy injustices. And you never believed at one point, and I don't think some of you all believe today, that Asa Hutchinson and his cronies were really out to destroy the Little Rock School District. The Republicans are out to destroy schools across this country. And the only way that you're going to get remedy is that you've got to get this in the courts. Now, the great thing about this, Houston has already done so. Now, maybe people in Arkansas will use Houston as a model to do what they should have done 5 years ago and sued the hell out of the state. Or maybe the Democrats and Republicans in Arkansas were working in league together and they were talking each other out of doing it. Because we've seen prima facie evidence in this state that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party seems to be one and the same.
So you don't say.
I'm just saying. I mean, when you don't run candidates, then I would say, hey, well, wait a minute, something's wrong here.
You seem to be a conspiracy theorist, my friend.
Well, I mean, aren't you an opposing party? How do you expect those who support your party to have political representation when you arbitrarily decide you're not going to run in certain races?
Now, I think that was, with the guy for Cottonseed, I think something else happened there that we don't know about.
Don't care.
It was after the filing date. It was too late to put somebody in.
So let me tell you a story. Okay. So for a long time, Mayor Willie Harrington was the first black mayor in the history of Memphis. Okay. But prior to that, black people in Memphis had tried to get black people elected as mayor. At the time, Mayor Richard Hackett, when I moved to Memphis, had only a high school diploma. He didn't have any advanced degrees yet. He was the mayor of Memphis.
Okay.
So the story came out that the Fords, Harold Ford, John Ford, the Fords, they had this rich, political family, black family back in the day in Memphis. When they finally decided that they were going to run for mayor, I believe the other candidate was going to be Vasco Smith. Vasco Smith is the husband of Maxine Smith, who was the executive secretary of the NAACP.
Okay.
All right. So they decided that they were going to run, and John Ford got the nod. And unbeknownst to many people in the city, the night before he was supposed to, the night before the final filing date, John Ford stepped out of the race.
Okay. It's not uncommon.
So by the time the black community had found out, it was too late to add Vasco Smith's name to the ballot. You follow me?
I understand.
Maybe that's what I'm channeling, this conspiracy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's...
I think this was a little different.
You think so?
Yeah, I think the guy ran before. And for whatever reason, I think there might have been some issues and he didn't run this time.
My God, we just only had one.
Yeah. Well, what they're doing now is they're not running a ton. They're not having like these primaries because they're trying to build up steam for the general. So they're not trying to have these primary elections. I mean, and what we're seeing from primary elections, I think a great example of that.
You know what that does?
Well, you wait, Dave. I think a great example of that is what happened when we had Ryan and Joy on. How people sided up, and so that's a good reason you don't want to have those primary elections.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it is, because think about it.
No, it isn't.
If for some reason, let's say if you had like 12 candidates in the race, and for whatever reason one of the 12 didn't win, now you have a problem getting those other people out to vote because they're not motivated to vote now because their candidate's no longer in the race.
Well, maybe you're doing a poor job.
It's the same thing with Bernie and Hillary in 16.
Well, maybe you're doing a poor job of motivating people to vote.
Oh, so
Because
it's not people's fault they're not voting. It's the candidate's fault. Is that what you're saying?
Of course.
Am I hearing that correctly?
In order to
Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Did you
You
get
are.
this based on my voice? Am I hearing that
Yes,
correctly?
you are.
All right, just making
Okay.
sure.
Why
In 10 minutes, you'll be blaming back on black folks.
I might.
I know you will.
I'm gonna give them that just due. I'm sure before this show is out.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
But the point is this: if it wasn't up to the candidate, why did so many people turn out for Barack Obama's election? They voted for the candidate. They didn't vote. They didn't hear a damn word he said because all he did was served word salad.
That's what it's all
So
about.
it is about the candidate.
It's all about words.
The candidate has got to be able to motivate
all
people
about
to
word
get to the
salad.
polls. And you can't motivate me by talking about process.
It's all about word salad.
So,
Word salad, man.
well, I'm just saying, the bottom line is this, is that if we don't get involved in the process, if we don't demand those leaders, because see, here's my problem as well. I think it needs to be more than two parties. So right now, the Democratic Party is saying, hey, we gonna pick and choose who we want y'all to vote for. That's not democratic to me.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? We either, because we the Democratic Party, or the Republican Party for that matter, we're gonna pick the one person that has brown nose his or her way to this point. Doesn't matter what he or she stands for. We're picking them because this is our party representation. That is not democracy.
You're picking people for that. They're picking people for their upside. It's kind of like the NFL draft.
Well, they're picking people for what they think is their upside. That's going to benefit them, who's not going to rock the boat. That's part of the reason why a lot of black candidates don't get picked.
Why? Because they rock the boat?
Because they're afraid that they're going to rock the boat.
No, they're not. No, they're not, dude. Don't do that. Don't you start that.
Are you defending the Democratic Party?
No, I ain't defending.
It sounds like you are.
My point is.
What is your
make the
point,
assumption-
sir?
Name me one black candidate in the last 5 years that you've seen rock the boat. I'll wait.
Well, look.
I'll wait. I'll
see,
wait, Dave. Don't
look.
give me no.
Oh,
Answer
yeah.
the question.
Here we go.
Name one candidate in the last 5 years you've seen rock the boat.
But
I'll wait, Dave. I'll wait for your answer. I don't want no commentary. I just want a name. That's it.
I can tell you why.
I want a name, Dave. I don't want no commentary.
I can tell you why there aren't any names. Okay? Because those black candidates have bought the Democratic Party line, hook, line, and sinker. That candidate out there that's on the fringe, okay? He might that pick.
But how can you say that's why they're not putting black candidates in there? Because
You missed my point, Robert. See, you always jumping on the black issue.
this is black focus, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. My point is this: that candidate that's going to garner electoral vote. Let's say, for instance, what if a Barack Obama would have had all that word salad and was serving it up and not have been a Democrat but an independent? That's my point.
You think it'd make a difference?
Well, based on our political system, he wouldn't have gotten elected anyway as an independent. But I'm simply saying is that people would have turned their backs on him simply because he was not affiliated with a political party, whether it's Democrat or Republican. Therein lies the problem with our system, is that at the end of the day, those two groups, and I saw a great meme the other day. It had 3 people sitting on a church bench, and they were facing away from the camera.
Okay.
And 2 on either end, they had their hands behind the bench holding hands. Okay? The one in the middle had no idea they were holding hands. You remember back in the day when you used to ride in the back seat with the little girl and you'd hold her hand and nobody knew y'all were holding hands? You remember doing that, don't you, Robert?
No, I don't.
Oh, it may have been a guy for you, I don't know, but you knew. But either way, the 3 were labeled. The one on the left was labeled Democrat. The one on the far right was labeled Republican. And the one in the middle was labeled who, Robert?
I have no idea.
Take a guess, Robert.
David Cole?
The voter.
Oh, the voter. Other? Independent?
The voter. So the point in that cartoon or that meme was to show that unbeknownst to the voter, regardless of who you are, whether you might lean Democratic or Republican, at the end of the day, both of them are shaking hands and having a good time behind your back. That's the point. And that's what we ought to be aware of. That's what we ought to be concerned about. But we've allowed, we say, oh, don't label me, don't call me that. But we've allowed them to put us in boxes to be labeled. It's always fascinating to me, particularly while I was living in Nashville and I talked to some of my white friends and they immediately say, oh, well, you're a Democrat. I said, you're saying I'm a Democrat because of what?
Yeah, who do they want you to be?
Because I'm black? So you think because I'm black, I'm a Democrat? And then I would have to correct them that, number one, if you ever listen to my show, you'd know that I'm neither Democrat or Republican. Yeah. I am proudly independent. So they already have labeled us. And therein lies the problem. There ought to be 15 different parties. Okay? Look, what's wrong with having an LGBTQ party? Not that kind of party. What's wrong with having an animal rights party? What's wrong with having
You already got those parties.
I'm talking about where they can run for office.
You already got those parties.
What are those?
The Democratic Party.
Okay, let me continue. No, you don't.
Well, if you say so.
That's what they claim to be.
Okay.
Okay? How about having a Native American party? How about having a African American party? How about having
You got those already.
Okay, see, I just can't have a conversation with you.
Why you get mad at me?
I'm
telling you now that all those parties are represented under the Democratic
They are
umbrella.
not. They are
The
not.
Democratic Party said.
Let me. I don't care what they say. Let me ask you something. How many minorities right now are running on the Democratic ticket for president? I'll wait.
I can give you a soliloquy like you gave me. I ain't got to answer.
Wait a minute. Answer the question.
I ain't got to answer.
No, answer the question.
You never answered
No,
mine.
answer the question.
What was your question again?
How many minorities are on the Democratic ticket for president right now?
There are no black people on there right now.
Exactly.
Okay, your point.
So how do they represent us?
They started out because they allowed them to get in the race.
They did what?
They allowed them in the race.
They allowed them to get in the race?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, sir.
They allowed them in. They allowed them in. Unfortunately, they did not stay in.
Exactly.
But again, you act as though that's like some kind of terrible thing, and it is not.
What's some kind of terrible thing?
That there's not a lot of minority participation in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. So Dave, what I'd like you to do is take a deep breath. I'm going to tell you something that I've told you a million times. I'm going to tell you once more. There you go. I keep calling your ass right now. But this is the thing. You ready? So, in the history of the Democratic Party and the Republican parties, they've both only had one black chairman of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. The Republican Party had Mike Steele after Obama was elected. Mike Steele was the chairman for about 2 weeks till he started talking about black stuff.
No, he was chairman longer than that.
About 2 weeks, Dave, and then they removed it. Then you had my man, Ron Brown, who was killed in the plane crash.
Questionable plane crash.
Questionable it was, but he was killed in the plane crash in 1992. And you've had Donna Brazile. Donna Brazile has been the interim chairman of the Democratic Party, but she's never been a full-time chairman. She's never had the chairmanship. But the parties are the same. I mean, there's no difference.
Ron.
What's up, Rizzy? There's no
Hey, I
difference
need
in
some
the parties.
help with your ratings, man.
Oh, your boy came in here trying to cut, man.
So what was your point?
My point is, it is what it is, man. Quit acting like there's something new to you. You quit acting like you're like you're surprised by all the nonsense.
Do I sound surprised, sir? We're having a discussion so that other people can start saying, hey, that makes sense. The Democrat and Republican Party needs to be ran out on their rails, on a set of
Why?
rails.
Why?
Because they don't serve the people.
Is that what they're supposed to do?
Oh, you almost made me cuss.
Is that what they're supposed to do?
Yes.
No, is that the? Well, you know what? We should look it up. Let's look up the mission of the Democratic Party. I don't think it's to serve people.
Well, let me put it this way. The party itself, but when I elect you, whether it be Democrat or Republican, your job is supposed to be to serve the people. But we know that it has degraded since that lofty thought to what corporation can spend the most money and pay the most money.
Which one of y'all supplying
So-
LRPD with the testosterone?
So I'm just saying, at some point,
Said you wrong.
at some point,
These are testosterone dealers.
they need to start thinking about
You are sick.
who you're voting for and why you're voting for them.
Thank you.
And stop being sheep or deer
Thanks.
or salmon or whatever you want to be. 855-525. But, I just brought that up because, here is the city of Houston. They get it. They get it that, hey, look, we're not going to let Republicans run roughshod over us. So we're going to sue them. At the end of you know why you stopped hearing from KKK members for a long time? Do you know why?
Why?
You know what the remedy was? That they started being sued. They started being sued, and they were being, and the plaintiffs were getting awarded huge judgments. And that knocked him. That's why you don't hear about John Metzger anymore. So what I'm saying is 5 years ago, just because a state says that we're going to do it, that doesn't mean that they can do it. Somebody should have said, hey, look, let's get our money together. Let's go to the ACLU. Let's sue them. And if nothing else, they could have at least got a preliminary injunction until it was heard in the courts, and that could have been tied up for years. Just like this desegregation stuff was tied up for years.
Okay.
But apparently, no one in this city figured that out. So that's why I'm bringing it up. Also, by the way, other news, and we're gonna talk about this police thing here.
All right, let me read this first. Let me find it.
Okay, what are you
I'm
looking?
trying to find now. I'm trying to find the Democratic Party's mission statement.
Do you know what a mission statement is? Word salad.
Mission statement for Democratic.
It means nothing. I write mission statements all the time for nonprofits. You know what? When you file for a grant, you know the last thing that they usually read in your grant is your mission statement. Because it means nothing. It's kind of like that objective that you put on your resume at the beginning. Think about that. You got a resume, Robert?
I don't.
You don't? Well, that's right. You big wig. You don't need a resume. But if you got a resume,
Do people put objectives on those?
yeah,
Anti-objective to get a job?
yeah,
Pay my
Is that
bills.
what they do for real?
yeah. And most of the time, employers skip right over that objective. Don't nobody care about that. That is nothing but word salad. None whatsoever. I'm still waiting on you.
I'm still waiting too, man. Democratic. I'm just
They don't have a mission statement. Why
Not one. I'm just
don't you just Google Democratic Party mission statement?
You think I didn't do that? I did.
I don't know. You know, some people don't. Some people don't know how to use electronic devices.
Get elected.
Get elected. Shot.
So, but anyway, why are you looking for that? We'll come back to that.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna read this part. This is all it says. You ready? All right, hold on. Let me turn this sideways because I got my glasses. All right, here we go.
You might need to hold your breath and close one eye.
You're so funny. It says the Democratic Party is one of the two major contemporary parties in the United States, along with its main rival, the Republican Party, tracing its heritage back to Thomas Jefferson and James Madison's Democratic Republican Party. The modern-day Democratic
It was what? It was the what?
The Thomas Jefferson and James Madison's Democratic Republican Party.
Democratic Republican Party. Okay.
The Martin Day,
Did you know that?
Yeah. The
did?
modern day
Okay.
Democratic
I did
Party
too,
was
by the way.
founded around 1828.
We don't
by
want a
the
history.
of
Just
Andrew
what's
Jackson.
the mission statement?
I'm giving it to you.
Andrew
Making it
Jackson.
making it the world's oldest active political party.
Andrew Jackson.
In its early years,
Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson.
Andrew Jackson.
In its early years, the party supported.
Stonewall.
That's him. In the early years,
Indian killer.
and that's it.
Trail of Tears sponsorer.
That would be him.
Slave master.
That would be him.
Andrew Jackson.
That would be him.
Okay, I'll just
In the
ask.
early years, the party supported limited government, state sovereignty, and opposed banks and the abolishment of slavery. Since Franklin D. Roosevelt and his New Deal coalition in the 1930s, the Democratic Party has promoted a social liberal platform well into the 20th century. The party had conservative pro-business and Southern conservative populist wings. Following the New Deal, however, the conservative wing of the party largely withered outside the South. The New Deal coalition in
I'm still waiting on a
1932
mission
to
statement.
1964 attracted strong support from voters of recent European extraction. Many
White
of
people.
whom were Catholics based in the cities
White people.
after the Civil Rights Act of 1964
White people.
and the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
White people.
The core bases of the two parties shifted, with the southern states becoming more reliable Republican in presidential politics and the northeastern states becoming more reliable Democratic. The once powerful labor union element became smaller and less supportive after the 1970s. White evangelicals and Southerners have become heavily
Wait a minute,
Republican
did you
at
say-
the state and local levels since the 1990s.
Did you say white Talibangelicals?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, Talibangelicals.
People living in urban areas, women, college graduates, sexual and gender minorities, millennials, blacks, Latinos, Jewish, and Asian Americans tend to support the Democratic Party.
So where's the mission statement?
There is not one. The Democratic Party philosophy of modern liberalism advocates social and economic equality.
Liars.
Along with the welfare state. It seeks to provide government regulation in the economy, policies such as environmental protections, support for organized labor and labor unions, the introduction of social programs, affordable college tuition, universal health care, equal opportunity, and consumer protections from the core of the party's economic policy. On social issues, it advocates campaign refinance, LGBT rights,
I don't want to hear no more.
police and immigration
I don't wanna hear
reform,
no
stricter
more.
gun
I don't
laws,
want to hear no more.
and the legalization
I don't want to hear no more.
of your favorite thing, marijuana.
Mary Jane. I'm in love with Mary
So
Jane.
that's your party right there, man.
No, it ain't my party.
That's your party.
I dumped them. It's been a good 30 years.
That's Rizzy's
now.
party. That's Rizzy's party.
Yeah, it's been a good 30 years
Rizzy's
now.
party.
I dumped all parties. I had enough of them.
Oh, man.
You know, you know what really made me dump them
Undercover
was
Republican.
was the election of Mayor Harrington in Memphis, because
They run as Democratic.
they run as independents. They run as independents, and see, John Ford was the Fords were Democrats.
Is this thing on? Hello. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Rizzy
Next
said
time,
he came in and said,
next time he knocks on the door,
he's
remind me
trying
not to
get some more
open it.
listeners.
Okay.
He's trying to get some more listeners.
But the point is that was during the time, and I've told you about the African American People's Convention. That is the
Tell me about
only time that I'd ever been involved in politics where black people came together on a Saturday afternoon and nominated the person that they wanted to run for mayor. And at the time, it wasn't John Ford, it was Harold Ford that decided that since he could no longer be in Washington as a congressman, that he was going to come back home to Memphis and run for mayor against Willie Harrington, which those two factions, they didn't like one another, okay? Because the Fords had been I guess you could say, the overseers for Black Memphis for decades.
May I ask a question?
Just a moment. Let me
Yes,
finish
sir.
my story, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the point is that whole thing that I said earlier about John Ford dropping out of the mayoral race, many people felt like Harold Ford would do the same thing. And he tried to sabotage Willie Harrington. So they had the African American People's Convention. I want to say there were close to 7,000 to 8,000 people who actually showed up, black. And if you showed up at that convention as a candidate, regardless of what office it was, whomever the people decided at that event to be the candidate,
Right.
you had to sign a pledge where you would not run. That's how Willie Harrington was elected mayor of Memphis.
Okay.
That's the only time that I've ever seen a black movement and this was purely a black movement, where they mobilized, they organized, and they got the candidates
So let me
that
ask
they
you this
wanted
question.
elected.
What did Willie Harrington do in his time that changed the lives of black folks in Memphis? Take your time.
Well,
Take your time.
you have to realize that I moved out of Memphis soon after he was elected. I moved to Nashville.
Here's my concern while he's pondering that question. Is that a person that does not have a party, this is why I'm concerned about people that don't have a political party. What that means typically is that if you're not committed to a party, then you're subject to vote either way, Republican or Democrat.
Exactly.
Right.
And so,
And I have.
Wow, that was gonna be my question. So you voted Republican. I can hardly get that out. You voted for Republican.
In the past, I have, yeah. I've voted for some Republicans in local elections.
That's
I mean, because I've got to be
I ain't married to one party.
right. I'm not married to one party,
I
and
can certainly appreciate
and I got to be
respect
true to what I believe in, and I believe in voting for the best candidate.
I believe Democrats exploit black folks.
So
Flat out.
now after seeing Trump in office, what's your position on voting for Republicans now, considering the fact that all Republicans that I know, black or white, are supporting Trump no matter what he does? And so can you see yourself voting for one of those kinds of Republicans that support Trump?
Well, it's going to be just like any other candidate for me. What's your platform? What have you done? And based on what we've seen of Republicans, I'm going to be hard-pressed to vote for any Republican at this point. But then there are Republicans on individual levels across this country, at school boards, at different places, who have done some pretty good things for the community as a whole.
And so if a Republican just came to you that was running for office, and
which office?
For any office, Republican comes to you.
Well, it makes a difference which office.
Well,
Go ahead and answer.
He or she is a candidate for office,
Okay.
a Republican, and they come to you, and they say, I support Trump. Will you support me? What is your response?
If someone comes to me and openly tells me that they support Trump, then no, I wouldn't vote for them.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
No, I wouldn't vote for them.
Yeah, I understand your position, and I ain't mad at you if you.
I wouldn't care if you were, Rizzy. I'll put your truck on the flag.
See, I'm trying to be serious. I wouldn't be mad at you if you vote Republican, Democrat, or whatever. Although I am a life member of the Arkansas Democratic Black Caucus, and so I advocate for Democrats, and so I certainly won't be mad at you for not supporting them, as long as you're not mad at me for supporting them.
Oh no, that's the whole point about having your vote.
Pick your own poison.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's
Pick
right.
your own poison.
Yeah, and so I'm good with that. But here's my question that I wanted to ask a few minutes ago. Does either one of you have any idea who the plug is for Little Rock Police Department?
I don't know. We need to find out. We need some royalties.
Does anybody know
We need
who the
some
plug
royalties
is
up in here.
for Little Rock police officers and the testosterone?
We need to find out. We need some royalties.
I mean, I'm price shopping and I'm just,
trying to see you get the best
trying,
deal, right?
trying to get the best deal. And I'm figuring that if the cops have a plug for testosterone, that they've got to be getting a good price. So
They
I'm
get a
just,
damn good price. Well, you know what? They're probably getting the best price. They're probably getting it free. They just
Yeah. Exactly.
Right.
Hey man, I just made a bus. Y'all come over.
Exactly.
yeah.
10, 20.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So they're not hunting crack
Nah,
dealers and meth dealers. They're hunting
They have
testosterone dealers.
dealers. That's what they're looking for.
Well,
Thank you for answering that. I appreciate it.
One other
Yeah.
quick thing. Tatiana Jefferson, the young lady who was killed while she was in a house in Texas, her mother passed away the other day as well. So her father has passed away since her death. Now her mother has passed away. And it's just a sad situation all the way around. So I wanted to shout out to y'all as well. So since we're talking about elections, so Sarah Sanders, okay, you know, and the reason this is important is because she's trying to run for governor of Arkansas.
Yeah, does she have your vote? She's a Republican.
She had, I got my stompers on today. That's about the only vote she's gonna get from me. Okay, but she's planning to run for governor. At least she said that she's gotten a word from the Lord that.
Is that what?
That's what she originally said.
I didn't hear that part.
That she believes.
God called you too?
She believes.
Not the one that's talking to her.
She believed that the Lord done called her to run for governor.
Right.
Sir, this is God.
You
I
know.
need you to run for governor of Arkansas.
Oh, wow.
we need to make sure we maintain the Trump legacy.
In my name.
know.
Amen.
So y'all didn't read that article, man. It was so hilarious. Now,
What? Say it again, God. My friends
No.
say it.
I'm over here, Sarah. I'm over here. so, but I found that interesting. So the other
Did she say
day,
God called her? Did he call him a cell phone? Or did
you
he
know,
friend on Facebook?
hey, you have to ask
Inbox.
Rizzy more adept
Look, man, some
when he calls.
Christians are so naive. Some Christians are so naive that politicians really play on that naiveness.
I know.
That politicians think that if they say a public prayer or if they say Jesus' name in public or or say God sent me, that voters are going to vote for him. And a lot of voters will, in fact, vote for a
It seems to be
politician.
working for Donald Trump.
No, exactly, and that's my point, is that there's a lot of Christians, right, that are so weak-minded and naive and foolish that they really believe that Trump was sent by God to deliver this country. and I think, and it's common for politicians. That's why you hear me, especially during election season, man, when I be telling the fellow preachers in the church, man, don't let them folks come up in your church, in God's house, in that pulpit, claiming and professing to know God and be with God and running for God, and then they live in any kind of lifestyle, man. It's just crazy.
So here's why I'm bringing this story up, because, you know, apparently, you know, we talk a lot. Why are you laughing, Robert?
Because you know Robert, man, right?
You know, we do you know somebody look hey?
Look, Robert probably got
He got some brother. He probably knows Sarah.
Right.
Did you graduate? Was she in your graduating class? You know, she went to Central. You know what I'm
I bet
saying?
if you check Robert for tats, he's got heathen all over the place,
But
man.
you know, you know the reason I'm bringing this up because see, if she's talking about running for governor of Arkansas,
Yeah.
will Arkansans be so stupid to elect this woman? And
The Republicans, yeah.
I fear that they will. But
Yeah.
but here's the argument that we've been making about our black candidates or any candidate for that matter is that you ought to know what the hell you doing.
Yeah.
Okay? So here's why I'm bringing this up, okay? You know, yesterday, well, I guess it was Wednesday evening that the Congress voted for strengthening the War Powers Act against Donald Trump, so this fool just can't take us into a war without going to Congress.
Yeah.
Here's what Sarah Sanders said. You know, I can't think of anything dumber than allowing Congress to take over our foreign policy. I think the last thing we want to do is push powers to Congress's hands, and take them away from the president. The last thing I want to do is see them take power away from from President Trump and put it in their hands. I don't think anything could be worse for America than that.
Then power
Now-
in the hands
now-
of
God told me to tell
Now-
you.
all right.
Now,
God told me that.
Power
God
in
told
the
me to
hands
tell
of
you
now,
that.
before y'all keep cracking
y'all
jokes
know
on
that
Sarah,
God told me to
I'm
tell
over here, Sarah. I'm over here.
Do y'all know God told me to tell y'all that? And if y'all don't listen to God, you're going to be damned.
Crazy, man.
But
Crazy.
the reason I'm bringing this up, because this is important, and this is why we have to become an informed electorate,
Yeah.
okay? The War Powers Act was put forth in Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution, okay? And it's not a subtle document. The document explicitly gives the legislative branch the power to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisals, and make rules concerning captures on land and water. The Constitution goes on to authorize Congress to raise and support armies, provide and maintain a navy, and make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces.
So are you saying that our dictator should not be allowed to do what he wants to do with his army?
Bingo! But your future governor of your state, your future governor of the state of Arkansas says, to hell with the Constitution.
She gets a pass. God is speaking to her directly. But the thing is, man, here we are having this conversation about craziness, right? We're having this conversation about craziness. And you want me to be serious about this craziness.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
really? Sarah
Yeah.
Huckabee, God told me to run for governor. Did he call anybody else? How did he tell you? Did he call you? Did he Facebook you? Can we see the message in your inbox?
Yeah.
What?
But even though
Really?
it's crazy as it is, man, how crazy are the people that continue to support crazy?
That's
we've
my
got
point.
people. There are millions of people out
But
there
we
that
do it all the
still
time, though.
support crazy.
But we do it
man.
all the
They
time,
support. They support Trump. They support Sarah Huckabee. They supported her daddy. And it's Tom Cotton. I mean, just the list goes on and on of crazy supporting crazy.
We do it all the time. We do it.
But it's real life. This is our reality.
Yeah.
Is that we have people in positions of authority that have their finger on the trigger,
God, if you're listening, call me on
that are
mic. I
making
wanna ask you about
decisions,
Sarah.
unilateral decisions on behalf of all Americans. And now, not only does she want dictator Trump to have that power, but if and when she is elected governor of Arkansas, I'm sure she's going to want that same power.
Well,
And who is she gonna fight? Who's she gonna send the National Guard to fight in Arkansas? But people like David.
y'all should have had enough of the Huckabees and the Duggars.
I'm just curious.
I'm
to
just
know
saying.
if Sarah Huckabee's God is going to run for lieutenant governor with her. That's what I want. Can we get an interview?
Would you stop it, Robert?
I'm just asking.
Stop.
It's a
See,
legitimate
we're
question.
trying to have a serious conversation.
Since Dave is independent, Dave might make
You
a
know,
good.
we're trying to have a
vice.
serious
And
conversation.
hey, you
Dave
know what?
might make a good lieutenant
Might make a
governor.
good
Sarah
lieutenant
Huckabee.
We're trying to have a serious
Since
conversation.
he's
And we got to
a
take the top of the hour break. I'm going to try to get a wrangle on these
Don't forget,
foods.
Sarah Huckabee God. Sarah Huckabee God. Call me on the break.
Right, right.
We holding on.
We'll be back in a moment.
855-525-5683. Hit us up on the break. Sarah Huckabee God. Hit us up. Hit us up, dog. We want to do some stuff too.
Because her God is definitely different from ours.
Her God's on the move.
There you go. We'll be back in a moment.
Wow.
Because that is ignorant.
What still amazes me, man, is that there are really people that are believing, man.
I know.
People that
I know.
believe it. I mean, how can you believe that Trump was sent by God to deliver mankind? I mean, it's crazy.
Well, I'm just saying.
It's our issues, our solutions, our voices. Download the latest.
I mean,
platform. Also,
The Lioness press,
that's Black Focus Radio.
what they call, what was her position? Press secretary in the history of that office. And she wants to run for governor. And she has the nerves to fix her mouth and say, God is the one that called me to do that.
She may have a good chance of winning as long as
I know.
they keep peddling God, peddling God's name and scripture and Bible. As long as they continue to do that, it's real likely that there's a possibility she could be elected as governor or any other office that she runs for in the state. Because we got a lot of people in the state that are Trump people. Unfortunately.
Yeah, we know why this state is in the position that it's in.
Well, yeah, racism.
It's,
We know racism plays a huge role in voters in Arkansas. I mean, when you look at what's going on, I'm laughing about it. I guess it's not funny. The voter turnout in this special election District 34, man.
what did I hear the number was
It's probably
yesterday?
less than 100 right now. Yesterday it was less than 100.
Yeah, I know. I thought I heard someone say 34 people.
Yeah, it was less. I know it was less than 100.
I
don't
thought
know if
I
it
heard
closed
someone
out
say.
at the end of the day. But I know that early yesterday it was less than 100 people that turned out.
Yeah, I thought I heard someone say 34 people had turned out for the election yesterday. The early voting.
And I mean, if nothing else, black churches ought to be loading up the church buses and driving people down to.
But they don't live over there no more.
Why would they do that?
Yeah.
They don't live over here no more.
Black churches, they don't care about black people anymore.
Well, some do. Not all. Some do.
Well, the ones that matter.
But they've got to get black churches, black church leaders. We've got to be driving people to the polls.
Hey, I'm trying to push up on Miss Johnson over
We
there
gotta send them out
on
there
the
to
second
vote for
pew. I ain't got
Joy,
time
man.
for all that voter
We gotta send them
registration
out there to
stuff.
vote for Joy, man. Joy Springer, District 34.
Lord.
Just saying.
Wow, another candidate.
Yeah, go Joy. You
Ugh.
hear Russell Williams yesterday, man? Russell, that's a sharp young man to be 22.
Yeah, he
He was
was.
on the power just
He
yesterday.
sounded better than all of them.
That young brother is sharp, man. Yeah.
He sounded better than all of them.
Yeah. Some of the old heads could take some pointers from the young man. That's how sharp.
Why would they do that? I'm being real. Why would they do that? They already know. They got it going on. They know everything. They done fixed everything.
Its management or its advertisers.
Man, if I could take you back 15 years, and I talked about this the other day, take you back 15 years to Nashville, Tennessee, and you look at what Nashville is today. Man, it's amazing. It's night and day. You've seen no type of initiative like that here in Little Rock. Oh, we're going to get a bigger zoo.
Developing our solutions using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready.
This city frustrates me. I'm gonna tell you, if I was 10 years younger and I didn't have this back issue, I'd probably move.
So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
There are other cities that are a lot better off than this place.
Stop it, David Coleman. Stop it.
I'm just tired of the stupidity. Welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. Yeah, y'all see me. I'm sporting my Little Rock Central shirt today. 855-525-5683. Rizal Aaron is in the house with us, along with Robert Webb.
God didn't call me on the break. Sarah Huckabee's God, call me. I want to know what you told Sarah. I want you to tell me what you told Sarah. I want to talk about it. I want to discuss it.
Hey, Sarah, I'm over here.
Go over here. Because you know what I always want to say. And the bad part is whenever somebody says it, I never get a chance to ask them. But I always want to ask them, so how did God tell you that exactly?
No, I don't. Yeah. But here's my pet peeve. Be big in the sports business for such a long time. When the guy wins the game, and I wanted to thank the Lord for letting me win the game. Well, wait a minute. So you mean tell me that the Lord didn't like the other teams? Is that what you said?
Yes, that is stupid.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on,
Especially
man.
when I see people say, your house burnt down, but you made it out. Yes, I'm blessed and highly favored. Your house wasn't. So, I mean, how could you be so highly favored? Your house burnt down.
It's just materialism.
But Jesus saw a light. He saved me. I am blessed and highly favored. Nobody else is, just me. I'm special. Hell with the rest of y'all. Rizzy? Rizzy said nothing like that. But I never understand that. But the thing that gets me is that whenever somebody, like you said, whenever somebody wins a game, and I remember, I'll never forget this, man. I think it was when San Francisco won the championship game to play Baltimore, right? When your boy was there, I can't think of his name. Kaepernick. When Kaepernick was in San Francisco. And after the game, I can't remember the dude that stuck the camera in his face. He said, "God wanted us to win." I was like,
Really? So,
how did you know
so
that?
God was up to saying, yeah, I like them right there.
No, God was beside him and said, "Hey, I want y'all to win. I'm gonna hook y'all up everywhere I can. I just need y'all to win."
Yeah.
But I want to go back and tell him, so he wanted y'all to win the NFC Championship, but not the Super Bowl.
Not Super Bowl.
I mean, what happened? What happened, though? Did you piss God off? I mean, what happened?
Should not pay your
Did
tithes.
you not pay your tithes? Was God talking to you? You weren't listening? Why are you now? Why is God now pissed off at you?
Yeah.
Because he liked you last week,
Yeah, it gets ridiculous.
but he don't like you this week. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that blows my mind when people do that.
So, by the way, Robert, I know you're an independent businessman,
I try to make $1 too.
but the Little Rock Police Department is searching for diverse recruits.
Well, yeah, I'm not even gonna. I'll let Rizzy take that.
Okay.
Y'all know I always advocate for people, especially black folks and brown folks. I always advocate, apply for those jobs at the police department, become police officers,
See if I can find
and
that.
change the system from within.
That's the biggest crunch.
That message is brought to you by Rizal Aaron.
That's
and
the biggest
Power of
crunch
Justice. No,
I
look,
ever heard.
Look, man, I always
Get your seat at the table.
I always advocate for people applying for these jobs within the criminal justice system, because believe it or not, we really can change the system, even if it's just one person at a
Stop
time
saying
from
that,
within
Rizzy.
the system. We can do that, Rob. I encourage people to apply, become police officers, become lawyers, become judges, so we can do something to change the system. We can make it look like what we want it to look like.
All right, back in 16. Back in 17.
LRPD is hiring. If you
16 to
need a
17.
job,
They ain't hiring black folk.
if you
Don't
need a
try to
job,
apply.
check online.
But apply if y'all want to.
littlerock.org or whatever it is, and apply for jobs, especially as cops, police officers.
FOI, how
Just
many
stay
people?
away from the testosterone.
Don't get no tested.
Stay
I FOI all the FOI. How many who all applied for the Little Rock Police Department from 2012 to I think 2016, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I learned was you had an overwhelming majority of black folks who applied.
Yeah.
See, Rob, you living in the past, though.
No, because this is what I'm telling you about how what's Malcolm's word was how they bamboozle you, right? So they telling you we're looking for minorities, but no, you're not really looking for minorities. You got tons of minorities applying. Your ass ain't hiring them. Now the question becomes why? I mean, go look at the city. So people say that people hire people who they're comfortable with, right? So if I'm going to hire somebody I'm comfortable with, Dave, am I going to hire somebody that looks like Brazil, or am I going to hire somebody that looks like, trying to think of somebody we can all relate to, the white mayor, our former white mayor.
Well, let me answer.
Would I hire him, or would I hire somebody I'm
Well, let me answer what Sergeant Dewana Phillips said. They really need more women, particularly white women. So there's your answer.
Oh, they're looking for white diversity.
That's
new.
She didn't say that, man.
That's new.
It's right here in the article, dude. I am not. I don't quote people like that.
Wait,
I don't play like that.
Sergeant Phillips said that?
Sergeant Dewana Phillips
I know
said.
Sergeant Phillips.
Okay, she said, "Look, there's going to
must
be
a misquote, man. That's got to be a
Your
misquote.
homegirl said, we need more white
That's
folks.
got to be.
We don't have enough white officers.
there's going. Look, let me
I
read
have
it
never
again.
heard that in my life. We don't have enough
Let-
white officers.
Let
We
me
need more white officers.
read it again.
Yeah.
Okay, read
That's why I brought this up
Read it
because
again.
you're telling me you need diversity.
I was thinking black people. My bad, Dave. I stepped out of line. My bad, dog.
Okay.
What she say, Dave?
Sergeant Dewana Phillips said they really need more women. So let me stop right
They
there.
don't
So
say
you
white.
brothers don't apply.
They need more women.
Okay, particularly white women to apply.
That's what she said.
Damn, did you not just hear me
Hold on.
read?
Yeah.
Read through that. Give us the breakdown. Give us the breakdown.
Yeah, she gonna hear from me.
Yeah,
today.
give us the breakdown.
I think it's important that the police department
Wow.
represents people that we serve.
No, you don't. Because if that's the case, they'd
Okay,
be
let me
black.
finish. She said Phillips said they're also desperately seeking Spanish speakers to join the department. So what I was going through here when I read this earlier today, Rizzy, you are getting on my nerves with that phone. Can you like hold it in your hand?
Look, there you go, Dave.
What bothered me today, you want white women, you want Hispanics, but ain't nothing in here about saying we need black males or black females.
No. And then you get a black woman up there saying it, though. That makes it okay.
No,
Exactly.
seriously,
But the article is entitled
I'm surprised at that. I really
Little
am.
Rock Police
I'm surprised.
Searching for Diverse Recruits.
Women are diverse. When it
So
comes,
that's
when
that-
it comes to traditional male jobs, hiring more women is hiring diversity. Now the
So-
white woman part, I got to call the one about that. but it does not change what I've said. I'm an advocate for people, black people, brown people, and poor folks, applying and becoming police officers. I'm an advocate, and it's not going to change. Nothing's going to change that. I advocate for changing because here's the alternative. The alternative is to tell people not to apply, and then we already know what we're dealing with.
So, but when they do apply, then they turn into that Frankenstein monster that we were fighting in the first place.
Do we know why they're not being hired?
It doesn't say it here. This is just here's my
Rob, did
point
you
about
follow up to find out why these people? Were not
here's
being
my
hired?
point about this because
why
here's what
these other
bothers me.
applicants were not being hired?
Well, it doesn't say one word. This is just
No, I'm talking about with Robert's FOI. I'm not talking about the article.
Oh, okay.
Did you find out or ask the question why they were not hired? Is there something that prevented them other than race? I mean, we know what it is.
We know what it is. I didn't follow about that.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing is, only reason I FOI'd it was because I don't know if you remember, but your boy Kenton, he came back to the city board and asked for like $200,000
Yeah.
to hire somebody to recruit minorities.
Right.
And I'm thinking, y'all ain't serious. Y'all can't be serious, right? So they got 200-some thousand to pay somebody to recruit minorities, but you got more minorities applying for the jobs than you got white people.
Was the recruiter white? Do you know?
Yeah, the recruiters were white. I mean, I don't think so much who recruits them matters. I think what matters is once they go through that whole training process, and so a lot of people didn't make it through. And I can't remember the numbers now, but you had more people, you had more blacks who applied. They make it through they make it through the written test,
I see.
right? And then you have a lot more make it through the physical test. But the thing is, when you got to the end, right? When you got to the end, when it comes to who got hired, you had more white people getting hired than black folks, but you had almost the same amount of black folks who made it all the way through, right? Now, I didn't get, when it comes to the test, when it comes to the polygraph test or whatever, I didn't get that information, right? But at the end of the day, the polygraph test is you just pretty much walk in there and say, is everything in the polygraph true? Yeah.
Well, here's the problem with the polygraph test. Remember Josh Hastings before he killed Bobby Moore
Right.
Jr.? He failed the polygraph.
Yeah.
Josh Hastings did. And they hired him anyway.
Right. Even though, I can't remember who it was. Now I won't say Gilbert. Even though Johnny Gilbert was like, get him up out of here.
Right.
They still kept him on.
Well, the reason that I'm bringing this up, and I hear what you're saying, Rozelle, about we do need to be involved in the system, but the problem is
Y'all making my butt hurt. I'm so tired of y'all saying that. If you get in
Well,
the system, you gonna conform.
I'm not saying that. Will you
Y'all
just
know
let me
y'all
finish
are.
my point?
Okay. Fine.
Okay.
I ain't gonna argue with you on the original.
Okay.
People don't always.
Here's what I'm saying about
Okay,
this. Is that part of the reason that police are having a problem recruiting minorities, particularly black males, is because you have a public relation image. Okay? Think about it from this perspective.
Dude, I don't give a damn about that if I need a job, and that's a good job to have. You ain't got
Okay.
nothing but a high school diploma.
Well,
That's a damn good job to apply for.
but it may be.
Because you ain't gotta have no quality. You ain't gotta have no nothing. All you gotta do is not be a felon, and you can spell. Well, I take that back. Have you read the police reports? You ain't gotta be able to spell. You just gotta be able to write.
So, but my point is this: and I understand all of that.
But hold on, I gotta tell you this one. It just popped in my head. No, stop, right?
Uh,
Right. Okay, so
interrupt me one more
no,
time.
I gotta tell you this.
Okay.
So I remember I FOI some stuff on this. Guy asked me to FOI some stuff, right? So I FOI this police report, and I FOI the police report, and I'm like, okay, I need to read this police report. So I started to read through this police report. I swear, a 5-year-old wrote it, right? So you know how you read a police report and it says "and," you looking for A and D, it's A-N. Then you get to the so you're not saying like there they are.
Right,
It's like we're going over there, right? But they're spelling it T-H-E-R-E. And every time they say there, it's T-H-E-R-E, right? So I keep reading through this report, man, and I'm thinking, how old was he? Because I mean, you got Ann. Now the one that really got me, the one that just like broke my heart. This is a policeman. How do you spell condiment? I mean, seriously, how do you spell condiment? He spelled
Do I want to hear this?
he spelled it C-O-N-D-O-M.
I already know, yeah. I already know. Yeah.
He said, "I'm gonna get a condom and I'm gonna get a condiment."
Yeah.
See, I could be really bad right now, but I'm not. You know, because some people do need mints afterwards.
Why did I come here?
Jesus.
Why?
Okay, can I get back to my story? Can I get back to my story? Thank you, Robert, for that input.
But would you like a condiment?
No, I wouldn't.
You don't want a condiment?
No, I wouldn't.
You don't want a condiment?
No, I'm quite sure. Okay, but my whole point in bringing this up is that I would be hard pressed, even if I were a young man, to go and work for a department that is such a public relations issue right now. And that's just not here in Little Rock, but that's across this country. That's my point.
Yeah, that's
is
what
that
I was gonna say,
if you want to draw these types of people,
Yeah.
and people that are of good intention, because your example of the police report spelling is classic, is the type of people that you're drawing. You're not drawing the best of the best, you're drawing the rejects and the has-beens, okay? So in order for that to change, I think it is incumbent upon the police departments across this country to make a change that says, hey, this is what we're going to have as policing. Because until they do that, this is not just in Arkansas. They're having problems recruiting police across the country. And the survey that I read a couple of weeks ago is because of their public relations image.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree that you're probably right, and that article is probably right about that. But the reality is that if we don't continue to encourage our people to apply and obtain those jobs, then we don't get the people on the inside that I regularly use to get information. And so those people are a healthy resource to people like me and people like you as well, that when we can get somebody hired and get somebody on the inside, we can get the truth about what's really going on and what's happening to our people. And so it's more than just economics. that our people need to get in these positions and get in these jobs. It's more than just economics. Yeah, they'll be able to make some money, they'll get benefits, they'll be able to pay bills. That's wonderful. But we have to have people on the inside that we can trust to give us information regarding what's going on within the police department as it relates to black and brown folks and poor folks. Because without that information, without that resource, all we have is their word. And that goes to public image, which is what Dave was just referring to. The public image and public perception of police. Why do they do what they do? And the only reason to know, or the only way to find that out is to have people on the inside like we do that continue to provide us with good intel. Now, we can't always use the intel because if we use some of the things that we get from police officers inside the department, it's more likely than not that the police will be able to identify our people on the inside. But the information is still helpful, and so there's more than just about economics, making money, making bill money. It's more than just that when we talk about advocating and encouraging people to apply and to become police officers or lawyers or judges in positions like that, because we need to know what's going on. Otherwise, we don't. And believe it or not, we've got some white sympathizers, I'll call them, even within the Little Rock Police Department. I mean, the other day, I ran into an acquaintance of mine, and
what was his name?
He told me, this is what he said. We were at Community Bakery the other day, and I ran into him. He said, there's a recording going around of some white police officers that are saying Charles Starks was wrong and that Charles Starks should have been charged with murder. That's what he told me just this week.
Can we get a copy of that?
So and I'm working to do that. And so we have people that are on the inside that we have to continue to support to continue to get that information. There are some cops that, if we're in public, I might, mean mug them or talk bad to them or disrespect them. And because I don't want people to know, or we can't let people know that we're friends. I mean, and it's sad that we have to do that. Y'all remember we were in the protest earlier this year.
Okay.
Not the one where we were arrested, but the one prior to that, the first protest, when all the officers were lined up out there and we were standing on Broadway in Markham and all the guys standing out there mean mugging. At one point when I was on the little megaphone on the loudspeaker, one of my homies on the other side in a blue suit, we was like, when there wasn't nobody looking, it was like, right? Exactly. Because that's what we need. And when we're standing in those lines and we've got our counterparts, our friends that are our friends in blue, for lack of a better way to put it, and then we're standing out there and you see me on my phone and I'm texting and receiving text, sometimes that's coming from police. And the only way to protect that resource is to continue to get people hired and put them in the police department.
Again, I'm going to tell you.
Say what you want to, Rob.
I'm going to tell you what Muhammad Ali said.
Yeah.
If I'm in the room, I'm running into this room and I see all these snakes behind me, but there's one good snake in there, I'm going to let all the rest of the snakes get me. Just so I don't close the door on the one good one. Yeah, okay. Hey, man, all I got to say is this. If you are a Little Rock policeman and you think what Stark did was wrong and you don't speak out, F you.
If you're a Little Rock police officer and we have not become friends yet, and you want to become friends, and you got something that I need to get, holler at me. I'm more than happy to be your friend.
But Robert, to your point, if that whole thing that whole soliloquy I had about the public relations, that's how you change that image. Because right now is that if you're saying that what someone did is wrong,
now,
and you won't publicly admit that,
right.
then
You're the police.
You're
just uphold the law, regardless of who breaks it.
It's the same as a good cop.
We got to get running.
Seeing a bad cop commit a crime, and instead of turning him in, he turns his back. Now we know why a lot of them do it, because that thin blue line then attacks them. Therein lies the problem, and that's the point I'm making here. Is that if you want to change your public image, then you need to start doing things publicly to change that image. Now, I watched 60 Minutes Sunday, and they had this piece on 60 Minutes about cop suicide. And I'm going to be just as honest as I can right now, okay?
You didn't feel guilty.
I did not feel bad. And maybe I'm something's wrong with me. But when I sat there and as I saw that fluff piece, and it's a serious issue about cops committing suicide,
Yeah.
but all I could think about is the number of black kids that were shot down in the street for nothing. I could not bring, and let me be clear, I have relatives who are police officers. I worry about them all the time. But as I watched that piece, I couldn't think about feeling sorry for those guys who are eating their guns, because I'll be honest, here's some of the thoughts that I had. Did you eat that gun because you got caught up in some stuff and you don't want anybody to find out? Did you eat that gun because maybe you were selling drugs and they told you either resign or you're going to be arrested and they'll keep it under the cover so your wife can get the pension? You see what I'm saying? That stuff happens.
Yeah, but
So-
I'm that guy that always, I'm that voice that always says, be careful about generalizing, because when we look at police officers, we can't group them all together.
I agree with that, Rizal, but here's the problem I have with that, and people always make that argument. Here's the argument I have with that, because they generalize me.
Yeah.
Okay, so for someone to tell me, well, all police officers are not like that, in my heart, in my logical mind, I know that.
Yeah.
But I know also that when a police officer sees me, whether I'm walking, running, smiling, eating, it doesn't matter. He has already generalized me.
But here's the problem, Dave, is that when we just give that one piece, then we're not giving the complete story. If we just simply say all police are not bad, then we're giving bad information. We have to say that all police are not bad, at the same time recognize that there are in fact many bad police officers that we have to be aware of. And because we never know which officer we're going to get, we have to treat all of them with caution, period. And so we can't just say all police are good or all police are not bad without saying the other half of the story. And here's the other thing, is that to generalize groups of people, right? What if somebody was to say, well, I hate all media personalities, I hate all journalists, I hate all radio personalities because I don't like Dave. I mean, that's not a realistic view that a person should have.
You'd be surprised how many people do that, though.
To say that a whole group of people are terrible or bad. But we can specifically say there are many good cops and there are many bad cops, and we never know which one we're going to get. So we have to be cautious about all of them. Now, in reference to violence, I understand your position. You know, when you say what your opinion in regards to a cop that committed suicide, but my thing is that I feel bad for anyone that loses their life for any reason. And that is because that I believe that people, no matter how they are today, they have the ability to change or to be changed. And so that's why I know people hear me when I make comments about if I run into a bad cop, I have to decide whether or not I'm going to go home that day. And that's true. But it's not advocating violence. What it's saying is that I have to make sure to protect my life the same way that they're going to protect their lives. And so it's not as much about advocating or supporting violence, because I hate violence. But I like living more than I hate violence, which means if I have to use violence to live, then yeah, that's going to be my reaction if I have to do that to live. And so we have to be careful about how we group people, because, you know, I hate to, well, we have to be careful about how we group people. That's all I'm saying.
I hear that, but I'm going to use Robert's philosophy.
Yeah.
And
Like my rhymes. But before you do that, I gotta give a shout out to my homies, my heroes. Give a shout out to my heroes. Y'all ready?
Go ahead.
My 2 heroes.
FOP.
No, Mikael Xavier Johnson. Hold it down, brother. R.I.P. dog. And Gavin Eugene Long. Rest in love, brothers. Rest in love, you strong black brothers.
So what I'm saying
What's
is
up, my president?
that I was going to
Rose?
use Robert's philosophy. That's the philosophy I was going to use. Because at the end of the day, I'm sorry I got to lump them all into one boat. But if you prejudging me, I'm going to prejudge you, and I ain't trying to be nice about it.
I'm only following let me tell y'all something so y'all understand where I'm coming from. I'm only doing what other folks are doing. I ain't doing nothing no different.
That's my point.
I'm only being supportive of people
That's
who
my
are
point.
supportive of me.
That's my point.
Those guys look like me just like those guys look like this, but those guys wear blue with them. Hey, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. You know what? My boy Ken always say this, and I always laugh every time I hear him say it. He said, you know what? He said, the history would be different when the rabbit got the gun.
Yeah.
The history would be different when the rabbit got the gun.
Yeah, but the things that we are saying are in some respects similar. But the difference is that we have to make sure.
And I advocate violence.
The difference is that we have to make sure that we explain it in a way that people understand that a whole group of people cannot be considered bad people or evil people or dangerous people.
Now, Rizzy, didn't you on your show a couple of days ago, did you not just read the article where you told black parents to stop teaching your black children that all
cops are good? Yes.
Okay, so why are you sitting up and contradicting yourself?
That's not a contradiction.
See, he tried to come on my show
that's not a
and push out that puking, pabbling crap. Come on,
It's not a
Rizzy.
contradiction, because one of the things that I said is when I tell leaders not to teach their people or their children that all cops are good, it's because all cops are not good. And I always clarify that by saying that there are many good cops, but there are also many bad cops, and we never know which one we're going to
Right, so you should treat them all the same, right?
Like they all bad.
Like
Cops,
that,
absolutely.
like that rattlesnake analogy.
Absolutely.
You might have a pet rattlesnake.
And that's why I said we're saying similar things.
Okay.
What I said is that we cannot label all of them evil, label all of them bad, or celebrate when one takes his own life. We can't do
Well,
that.
I didn't say I celebrated, but I found myself when I watched that piece that I could not, and although I could not call the names of all of them, but as I sat and watched that piece, all those names of black children, black men who have been killed by cops and cops have walked away started popping into my head, and there's a thing called karma. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what you believe in, but I one thing I truly believe is what goes around comes around. And for whatever reasons why they were killing themselves, I'm going to be honest with you. And maybe I'm flawed. I'm not perfect like you and Robert, but I could not find myself to feel sorry, because I kept thinking about a Tatiana Jefferson. I kept thinking about Botham Jean. All of these people who have been murdered by cops, and cops celebrate it. I know I'm wrong.
I get your point.
I know I ain't perfect.
The question that we have to ask is,
I ain't trying to be perfect like you.
The question that we have to ask is what role did that cop play in any of those lives? And if that cop didn't play a role in any of those incidents, then that cop cannot be held accountable, or should not be held accountable for what other
See, that's
cops
what's
have
wrong
done.
with black folks.
People
like him.
But he's a black pastor. He has
That's what we do. That's what we do when
God called him and said,
That's,
"Rizzy,
that's what we do when they group us together.
When God called you,
When
he
they
called you
say
your cell phone,
when they
you-
say
you-
all
your
black
box.
people look alike, or all black people are criminals, what do we
Do
say?
you have a direct
We
line to
turn
God?
around.
Do you have
What,
like a hotline?
what do we say?
You
We
have
turn
like- you
around
dial
and
one
we
number?
say, "Well, y'all wrong, y'all racist because all of us are not the same." And that's the appropriate response to all black people are criminals, all black people are bad.
Wow.
Is the fact that all of us are not.
I only have one thing to say. I'm treating everybody like they treat me. And I have the same view on violence that America has on violence. I had the same view. I am no different.
I
am no
only,
different.
I only.
And I'm not going to sit up here and lie and talk about I don't condone violence. Hell yeah, I condone violence. I'm down with
I
violence.
only agree with
Come at me.
violence in the
Oh, you only agree. Now you agree. Oh, that's the
It
only
hasn't
time.
changed. And self
I
defense.
don't even.
To
I have the
protect-
same view America has.
To protect my life.
I had the same view America
Then
has.
yeah, if it's me or a bad cop, then the bad cop is done.
I'd rather be
I
judged
mean, I'm
by 12
gonna
than carried
fall
by
back
6.
on my Marine
I'd
Corps
rather be
infantry.
judged by 12 than carried by 6.
I'm gonna fall back. I'm gonna revert to that because it's about self-survival.
I'd rather be judged by 12
self-preservation.
than carried by 6.
But I ain't going to pick no fights.
Let me read. Let me read. a
I'm scared of the
paragraph.
police.
On May
I'm
22nd.
scared.
I'm in fear for my safety every time I come
Every
in contact
time.
with them.
On May, and that's my point.
I have great anxiety at board meetings. That's why I had to quit going because the police just scare me.
On May 22nd, this particular officer was captured on a cell phone video threatening to shoot a father as other officers pointed guns at his pregnant fiancee and their children. The incident occurred after the couple's 4-year-old child allegedly walked out of a Family Dollar with a baby doll.
Yeah.
The parents did not know the child had picked up the doll while they were shopping. This particular officer threatened to kill the child's father by yelling, "I'm gonna put a effing cap in your effing head." Now, the reason I say I've read that is because of what we're talking about. There is an innate problem with policing in America when it comes to black
In that
Okay.
situation that you just
Okay.
described, if I'm standing there and I'm armed,
What city is that?
and
What city is that?
there's
This
a
happened-
cop telling my child that they're going to effing
This
kill
happened in
them,
Phoenix.
then I'm going to respond appropriately. If a cop threatens my child and I'm standing there and me and the cops got guns, then I'm going home that day. Me and my child are going home that day.
Well, in
that's
this,
when violence comes into play.
well,
and
in
is
this
appropriate.
particular case, father didn't have a gun. But
Yeah.
my point is this: is that it's different when it doesn't happen. But see, this happens too frequently.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That it used to, when these killings started happening. Although I've been telling them this has been happening for decades, no one just paid attention to it. When they started happening, people started saying, "Well, that's in Ferguson. Oh, well, that's just that area." And then they started happening all over the country.
They didn't just start happening.
You
though.
see?
They
I know,
just started getting
but
captured on video.
I
and
agree.
audio.
But here's
Yeah.
my point: is that when the same thing is happening from corner to corner, from ocean to ocean, in police departments across the country, I cannot, in good conscience, and not even if I deal with some of the illegalities that I see police do, let alone kill people and get off.
Right.
I'm like I said, I'm flawed. I could not sit there in good In fact, when I heard about the piece that they were going to do on 60 Minutes, you know what I said? I'm going to watch this BS. I already went into it thinking, I don't care how many of them are eating their guns. Because why should I care about them eating their guns when they don't care about innocent black boys walking down the street?
Who is they?
Police. They don't care.
Yeah, and think about
Black
what
or white,
think,
right?
think about
Black or white.
Think about what you're saying.
So you gonna lump Willie Davis in that too?
Look, there are individual differences, no doubt about that. But if I don't know Willie Davis, then I gotta lump him into the same group. You understand what I'm saying? The only difference is that I know Willie. I know what he does. So no, I can't lump him into that group. You may know another officer the same way. That makes sense. But I may not know that officer you know.
And I think that's the point, Dave.
Okay? That's the problem. That's not the point.
No, I believe.
That's the problem. Because that one officer who has done so much damage by killing an innocent boy because he had a cell phone or whatever the reasons may be. He's done so much damage to that image And it seems to me that the police, instead of standing up and saying, hey, dude, what you did, we can't have you as a cop no more. You're damaging our image. It's kind of like your girlfriend cheating on you in your face. Think about that. Every time you take her out, she flirting with other men. How long are you going to hang on to that? You're going to say, hey, baby, you forget about your image. You're messing up my image. You see what I'm saying? At what point are we going our police officers going to say, wait a minute. This thin blue line crap is nothing but crap here. We got to solve this problem. We got a problem in the community. You can't tell black people to snitch when your asses don't snitch.
Say it again, bro.
It just don't work that way. It don't work. And look, and as much as the crime that goes on, we need black people to tell the police, but black people can't trust you to keep your word. If you're not keeping your word every day, if you're not upholding the law every day, in which you are charged to do, then what makes you think that black people or anybody that interacts with you is going to be able to trust you? They got a trust issue. And until they start, if you tell me that you are against crime, if you are against illegalities, then that's got to be across the board.
And Dave, when I was a cop, I was a good cop.
I don't know what happened to
As a
you.
matter of fact, there are people that I've arrested that I'm friends with right now today because of respect.
But you,
Just saying.
why'd you
You
do
know,
that,
there's
Robert?
Just saying.
That's like a rapist saying there's women not raped. And you know what? We
Bob,
talk
really?
now because of respect. We are really. That's the
not
equivalent.
Oh, that was
For me,
that was
for me, that's
mean,
the
Robert.
equivalent, man. That's the
That was
That's-
mean. Rizzy's
Sorry.
a nice guy.
Sorry.
Doesn't it seem like Rizzy wouldn't have been out there doing anything bad?
Nah, I can see Rizzy.
That's why they said
Get out
Rizzy.
your car. Put your hands up.
That's why they said Rizzy up, because Rizzy was a goody two
Don't make
shoe.
me blow you up.
See, that's why they were trying to arrest him.
Rizzy was a preacher with a gun.
Right. Yeah, he was a goody two shoe.
One of the cops that gave the order, I had an active investigation into him because his nephew
See?
told me that he was taking dope.
See, Rizzy was a goody two shoe. He wasn't the typical thin blue
I
liner.
arrested that cop's nephew, and his nephew told me that his uncle, who was a cop in Jacksonville at that time, was stealing dope and selling it.
There you go.
Was
it true?
Guys. Yeah.
See, Rizzy one of them rare breeders. They were trying to get him. But see, that's my point.
And he.
Let me ask you a question.
And he and one of the other officers that were there that day, ultimately he ended up getting arrested.
So let me ask you a question about that. And you don't have to go into
With
details.
intent to deliver.
But at any point when those improprieties against you started coming out, did you feel that you were being targeted?
Yeah, of course I did.
Okay.
Because I was being targeted.
Okay, so my point, that just made my point of what we've been talking about this hour.
Yeah.
Is that the fact that you were trying to do your job the
Yeah.
correct way, apparently there were people, and I'm pretty sure that there were people higher up who didn't like the way you were doing your job
Yeah.
because you weren't towing the party line. That's the damn problem. See, that's what I'm saying. Thank you, Rizzy. I just love it when y'all make my
Right,
point.
you made a good point.
All right, the show is over.
He actually made a good point.
Damn, I'm good.
Yeah. He
See how I reel them in? It takes a while to do it. See, you
made a good point.
that's my point, though. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Therein lies the problem. Is that, I mean, the same thing. Look, I have Chief Keef with this thing with Starks. All he had to do was check a box on that what's the name of that paper?
The decertification.
The decertification.
Yeah.
If he really wanted to get rid of him with that recommendation, from what I understand, and you correct me if I'm wrong, all he had to do was check a damn box. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why didn't he? I rest my case. Damn, I'm good. Drop that mic for me, Robert. Man.
But I'm just tearing up stuff.
We just need
I
to,
mean,
we
I
need
mean,
to, we
I
need
mean,
to see if we can get him on the show. We need to get the FOP on the show.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, at some point, you know, it's kind of like you smell bad. You ain't bathed in a while. Okay? And my mama always used to tell me, by the time you can smell yourself, everybody else done smelled you. Did your mamas ever tell you that?
But Y'all still did not answer my question. The first question that I asked, I still ain't got an answer. Who is the testosterone plug for the Little Rock Police Department? Who is the plug? Or
Robert.
do I need to ask Officer John Brawley
John Brother, I think, is the plug.
who the plug
He
is?
the plug.
Why y'all calling that man's name on the show?
Because he got arrested.
It's him.
And his fight was about testosterone.
You got it going on, man. You got it going on.
So I'm
You
trying
putting
to
that good
find
in it.
See,
Good.
see,
Rob said he got good.
I could be really bad right now.
Who the
I-
plug
I-
for the Little Rock
I
Police
could be
Department is all I want to
really
know.
bad
Who
right
is
there.
slanging? Who is slanging to LRPD? That's what I want to know.
I
So
told you they ain't got a vibe, man.
Who's
Hey.
slanging the testosterone
I
to
can't do this
LRPD?
on the radio, but I'm over at 22nd and Navigator. Listen, man, I just pulled a dude over. He got a whole trunk full of testy. Y'all get over here right now. We need at least 3 calls.
now let me think.
What we gonna do with the crack? We gonna leave the crack. We don't want the crack. We just want the testosterone.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that was baseball. I was thinking that earlier last summer the major leagues had to issue a what do they
But
call
now,
it?
hold
An
on
announcement.
now.
Hang on a minute.
Test-
They had to issue this announcement because many of the baseball players were actually going to not fast food restaurants, but to quick packs and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and buying those little pills
Yeah.
all over the counter.
Yeah.
And that's what they were using to get up.
Testosterone,
So that's probably where they're getting it from.
No, man. They probably busting folks to get this testosterone.
But
the thing
they,
is,
they can walk into these stores, man. I
But
go
just-
to Chick-fil-A,
But this is the
and them
thing.
suckers walk back to the back, get their own drinks.
Yeah.
Can I get a sandwich?
They G's. But this is the thing, though. So
That's illegal.
there's nothing wrong. I mean, there's no law against having high testosterone, right? There's no law against it. I mean, testosterone is not an illegal substance.
No, but it sure comes in handy in a lawsuit.
Yeah, it does. But it's not an illegal substance, though. You get that, right? It's not and for the police department, it's not even a banned substance. So you
Right.
can take it. You can take it whenever. Do it whenever.
Just
however.
because it makes you mad and alters
Makes
your
you
mood,
aggressive, yeah.
Yep.
makes you cry, makes you mad, depressed, just because it does all of that.
So you saying people with high testosterone are angrier than people who have low testosterone?
No.
If they got the same plug that the LRPD does, yeah.
if it's artificially
If you
induced,
got the same plug, yeah.
yeah. If it's artificially induced or
So I shouldn't take my testosterone shot when I leave? You said I should take it?
well, they could make the argument. Well, y'all said I had low T. That was a big thing about a couple of years ago. You don't hear anything about low T now.
No.
So
Because, you got Nugenics. Nugenics is hooking brothers up. But they ain't taking Nugenics. They taking straight testy, huh? They getting
I
straight
don't know.
testy.
But
Is it? So it's got to be.
so where did
designer
this
testosterone,
officer
right?
live?
In Benton.
He lived in Benton, right? So what you're telling me that he's driving a Little Rock cop car home?
I don't know if he. What was he? A sergeant? Was he a captain?
No, I think it's detective. I'm not sure what it
He's
is.
a detective.
Probably
He's driving a Little Rock
He's
car
driving an
home,
unmarked car home. Yeah.
and he's apparently getting hopped up on something, and coming back to
So
Little
maybe
Rock.
he plays baseball when he's not working for the police department. Maybe he's a professional baseball player. He's getting in shape.
I can't believe you even fix your mouth.
No, seriously. He could be playing for a professional minor league team. He could be playing for we don't know.
No.
He could be playing for the Travelers. He's just trying to get in shape. And
Playing
what
for-
happened was
playing for the LRPD Blues. He's playing for.
The Saturday afternoon softball league.
so he's been working out a lot. And he need his body to recover faster. So he just thought to himself, I'll take some testosterone. I'll help my body to recover faster, and I can get back. Now, if you read the article, his wife told a bunch of lies on him, like he's been really aggressive and doing some other stuff. I just don't believe that. This man's trying to improve his body.
His wife lied on
His
him.
wife
man.
lied on him, man, because his brother's trying to get his body
Because
together.
he's not a
Man.
bad guy, man.
No, he's not a bad guy, man. He's just trying to get his body together for the
He's
season.
just going through.
Have you
he's got
seen the
some
picture of him?
Problems.
No.
He got a lot of work to do to get his body together.
He's trying to get there, man. He already know, because you know what? He said to himself, I remember Barry Bonds in 87, and I remember Barry Bonds in 89. It's like Barry Bonds took a big pill all of a sudden.
Well, I just
It's not his fault, man.
No, it's not his fault.
so let
He's
me
just trying to get better.
let me ask you a question.
Yes,
Do you think he's the only cop that's doing that?
No.
What? No, I think they all want to get
Absolutely
better.
not.
They all want to get better.
When cops usually do one thing, the majority, a lot of them are doing the same things.
Yeah.
May not be all of them, but if the cop is doing one
So y'all
thing,
saying that all baseball players cheat?
yeah,
Ooh.
You think?
Interesting.
I say a lot of them. I didn't say all of them. And so yeah, they're probably. Matter of fact, they're probably sharing testosterone
Right now.
right this
Hey,
moment.
Riz, where you at? You got any more testosterone?
I'm out, man. I'm out.
Meet me over here on the back road at War Memorial Stadium.
Ben, here I come. I need some testing, man. I'm getting low. I'm starting to fall asleep out here. This little black dude just said, "What's up?" I couldn't say nothing. I need some more testosterone.
Yeah. I mean, but really, man, he's been involved in 2 shootings. That same cop, man. And so, with his temper, with his attitude, and then his history of use of force.
Dude, once they're on force, do they get drug tested unless it's
Unless
an incident?
Yeah, unless you shoot somebody or you have some kind of altercation, I think, right?
Yeah, but is testosterone can you even see that?
Well, you're not testing for
you
they're
can.
not testing for testosterone.
They're not testing for that, but
What I'm
for
saying
drugs.
is, can you really see it? Because I thought testosterone was like a natural.
no, but you have
But they're not doing physicals on them.
no, you have a percentage
They
of
can't be doing physical.
no, they're not doing
They
physical at all.
can't. They can't be
But
doing
you have a percentage of any chemical in your body. Okay, so we
You're
have
saying that my testosterone, like, if it's
If you're-
supposed to be at 62 and mine at 97,
you injecting
I just
testosterone.
might be real manly. I just might be real manly, player. No, I just might be a real man up in here.
No,
Come on, Dave. Just because y'all ain't got high testosterone,
No.
why y'all got to be hating on me?
the human body there's only certain capacities of any level of chemical that's in your body, and that varies from chemical to chemical. So
Dr. David Coleman.
So you're not going, and the reason I'm a little familiar with this is because I've been following the story of Caster Semenya. Caster Semenya is a
Of
South.
course you're going to do that. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you want me to tell the story
While
now?
y'all sitting there
I
debating,
want you to
man,
tell
look
us.
at this. An Oregon woman whose husband is in prison for sexually abusing a child is suing the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for reporting her husband for abusing the child.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he could do that. No, they're supposed to have that. They're supposed to have
Right.
She did that in confession.
Right. If she did that,
She did that in
Listen,
confession.
man.
but right.
Prison.
Look,
Y'all finna go to prison.
Look, preachers are mandated reporters, man.
They can't report, man.
No.
That's crimes
Not the
against
Catholic
children.
Church.
Crimes against
Not the-
children.
not the Catholic
Preachers are
Church.
mandated reporters.
not
They
not
ain't
the Catholic
Catholic.
Church.
But
They
this
Catholic.
woman is suing the church
They
because
lied.
they snitched on her husband.
Y'all shouldn't have gave me up. I was taking my testosterone like they told me.
All right.
It's the testosterone that caused the problem.
We gotta call. We gotta start saying. I'm gonna start referring to Little Rock as Testosterone Police Department. I'm not even calling it LRPD no more. Testosterone Police Department.
No, you need to do Little Rock Testosterone.
Nah, I'm just gonna-
LRTPD.
All I gotta do is just say testosterone. Everybody.
Do you
knows
think
about
all of them are taking testosterone?
it. Nah, not all of them. Because I didn't see some big fat ones. They ain't taking nothing. All they taking is donuts and coffee. I ain't taking nothing else because they got some big ones. I saw one on the motorcycle. That motorcycle like it was saying, "Please." help."
In other words, they were screaming down the street.
It
Right?
was like, "Please help." Then I saw the dude that I saw the guy down there on the horse, the guy who was down in the river market on the horse, and the horse was just looking at me like, "You know this abuse, right? You know he abusing me.
Where's Peter?
You know he abusing me,
Bro.
And nobody's saying a word."
Did the horse slip you a note saying, "Call Peter"?
Nah, he gave me that look like, you know he abusing me. This is abuse. Why ain't nobody saying a word?
Oh man, y'all killing me today. All right, we got to wrap up the show,
Oh
man.
my goodness.
I'm sorry for this hilarity today, but
It's Friday though. You don't want nothing
some of y'all,
heavy today.
y'all are just so weird sometimes.
Hey, Sarah. By the way,
Hey, Sarah, I'm over here. I'm over here.
God texted me. He told me to read you this text. It says, "Shut your damn mouth."
Hey, Rizzy, you got to give a quote, man.
Rizzy,
You
leave.
better come on.
Quote.
All right, man. You got your quote
No,
ready?
Rizzy going first.
Okay, Rizzy. Tell people
Man,
quit
that
calling
was
you
that
when
was
you're on my show.
mama called me, so I had to answer my mama phone call.
Well, she probably said you need to get back to the
Thank
show.
you for joining us here for the Power of Justice broadcast every Tuesday and Thursday, 11 a.m. to 12 noon, right here at Joy Net Radio. When I get ready to say bye-bye to the grandbabies, we say bye-bye, love each other, big hugs and deuces. So from my house to your house and the Power of Justice broadcast, deuces.
Thank you for that, Rizzy. It
My
sounded
pleasure.
like the benediction or something.
My pleasure.
Robert, we're
Hold on,
waiting.
man. Hold on. I gotta find one because I'm trying to get something special, man. So hold on.
So my quote today is by Lyndon Johnson. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket. Hell, give him something to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. That's your president, Democrat, Lyndon Baines
Shout out
Johnson.
to all the First Baptist church members down in Keogh,
See,
Arkansas.
if you would've had your
the best
quote, we
church
wouldn't have had to do
members
this.
I was about to get
anywhere
crazy.
in the world.
See?
First Baptist Church every first and third Sunday, 10
Roselle, your
a.m.
mic's
Sunday
not on.
school, 11 a.m. morning service. Looking
Roselle.
forward to see you in Keogh.
Your mic's not on.
311 Fordyce Street. Every first and third Sunday.
Okay, your mic's not on. Okay, Robert, go ahead.
This quote today, I dedicate to your girl, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You ready?
Oh, that's so nice
I
of
do, I
you.
do. Please do not tell me you speak to God on my behalf. If a God exists, I'm a good enough man for him to deliver the message to me himself. Thank you, Sarah. Peace.
Hey, Sarah, I'm over here, Sarah.
Yeah, man.
Here we go.
God told me to run. What did he tell you? What were you at when he spoke to you?
Discuss our issues with our solutions and our
Y'all are just terrible, man.
Oh man, that hurt them, man. Y'all killing me.
on Joint Radio.
I'm gonna call the woman, man, about that and see what she was thinking for real, man.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Man. Yeah, I know the woman for years, man.
I mean,
She bought man. They own her. Quit acting like that, Rizzy. You know they own her, Rizzy.
she had to say something
You
nice.
calling her now?
No, but I'm gonna call her when I leave here.